Welcome to Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, the big, butch, manly movie podcast that gives it to you straight. I'm Andrew Wheeler.
And I'm Shane Holland. Disagree.
I mean, we can try. We can only try.
We're already starting on our hot takes, I guess.
Today, we are looking at James Bond hot takes from Reddit. Hot takes are controversial, low-stakes opinions that stir debate. So we have scoured the r/James Bond Reddit board for opinions to debate and discuss. Do we agree with these takes? Do we disagree? Can we even agree with each other?
Sorry, I'm allergic to the thought of agreeing with you.
So yeah, these are all taken from the R James Bond board, and some of them run a little long, but we'll do our best to summarize. So yeah, the initial hot takes we're going to look at are taken from a Reddit thread from about 4 years ago. The threads will be linked in the description below if you're watching us on YouTube, which we recommend. So the first one, some classic opinion stuff here from user deleted. So they were so ashamed of their opinion that they just nuked their whole account. The hot take is, I like Diamonds Are Forever, Moonraker, and Spectre. They do go on at some length. For Diamonds, it's just such a fun time, and Charles Gray is one of my favorite Blofelds. For Moonraker, I love the campy era of Bond, and Moonraker is just they say pinnacle, but I think they mean pinnacle of that era. For Spectre, while I see its faults, the first half is just as good as Casino or Skyfall, in my opinion. I will still watch any of these films on their own merits. I mean, we agree with that. You will watch any James Bond film. But yeah, how do we feel about these three films being highly rated? Like, do they deserve a reappraisal?
I mean, okay. Yeah, I can see you can make an argument for each of them, as this deleted user did. If you love the campiness of Bond, which you and I do, there is some fun in watching, particularly the first of those two movies. I mean, Diamonds is a camp classic, and you and I have slightly differing opinions on it. For you, it's an all-timer. For me, it's a fun film to watch.
We've both placed Diamonds in our top 10.
Yes,
in the past.
And it is fun. Like, I like it, but is it good?
It's great, which is different from good.
Yes.
The other two, Spectre and Moonraker, we do not rate as highly when we've ranked these movies. Spectre in our combined ranking came 21st, and Moonraker came 25th of 25 films.
Yeah.
So,
wait, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Put our scores together, and Moonraker is the worst.
You like Octopussy a little bit. That's right.
A little bit. I like Christina Wayborn as Magda. That saves that movie.
All right. Yeah, the other two are dismal films. Yeah, I guess maybe, like, you have to consider the age of the person who's writing this, how much they love Star Wars. And I love Star Wars, but I would never give Moonraker any credit because of that. And then Spectre. I mean, yeah, I guess you could say the first third of that film is exciting, but everything that happens after that detracts so much from the quality of it that it's hard to go back to that first third and say it's any good.
Spectre kills the reboot, basically. And that's pretty diabolical. You know,
and
it's a Quantum of Solace.
It's the way that Spectre retcons the previous three films that is the most egregious. Because Skyfall, don't forget, had already done that with the previous two films. And then here comes Spectre to say, but wait, there's more, when no one asked for that.
Yeah, that's not what anyone comes to a Bond film for. All right.
Should we move on to the next hot take?
Let's.
All right, Dominican Boy 02 writes, I think Moore and Brosnan are the most underrated Bonds. Say more, King. Yes, Dalton is called underrated, but I think Moore and Brosnan don't get the same acclaim that they deserve. So I agree with half of this statement.
I mean, the concept of an underrated Bond when there have been 6 actors, like...
Okay.
Fair. It's a little bit... Like, I mean, yeah, I get it, like, in the grand culture of it all. Like, Connery and Craig are exalted by pretty much universally. Lazenby is derided pretty much universally, even though most people Like, the movie
Love that
is
film.
highly rated, but George Lazenby himself is not considered great in the role. We would disagree, I think, about that.
Honestly, if anyone's the underrated in all of them, it
Yeah.
might be Lazenby.
Yeah, people critique like his acting, but I think he actually does a pretty solid job. He's just up against some powerhouses. So then you've got the question of like Dalton, Brosnan, Moore, where they stand. Like if you're just ranking those 6 people, yeah, are Moore and Brosnan underrated? I don't think so. Like I think Moore, if anything, is overrated because he was the
Overrated, for
Bond
sure.
the longest, and that makes him sort of like for a long time the conversation was who's the best Bond, Connery or Moore. Like that was the conversation. And Daniel Craig came along and ended that conversation, basically.
Right. Yeah.
But Brosnan, I feel like the culture got his number. Like he's well loved, but he's not the best guy to ever play it.
Yeah, he's kind of top middle of the pack, I want to say. Like, if anything, he and Dalton are kind of occupy the same space in the ranking of Bonds, and I think that's fair.
Yeah.
And all you have to see is the vinegar eye face to know that Brosnan was never going to be the best, right? I love the Pierce Brosnan films because of nostalgia, but also I think that the story holds up in all of them. I'm sorry, Andrew. I know you disagree. I hear myself, but he's not perfect. And I think I can hear you laughing. And all of the Bonds have had detractors as well, except for maybe Connery because he originated it. But
Right.
I mean, and we've talked about it here. Daniel Craig was like, "Oh, the blonde Bond? No way. He never could." And it turns out he's like one of the most revered actors of our generation. So I would say not a single one of them is either over or underrated. They're all, they're all doing the best they can.
And the next hot take actually ties back into that because this is from Bronson Kills, who said Roger Moore is underrated, as discussed, but goes on to say people need to lighten up. It reminds me of the total lack of respect Adam West got when Tim Burton started doing his version of Batman. He was also very good at the darker stuff when it was in the script.
Okay.
Now you're laughing.
Well, I'm sorry, but bringing Adam West in this conversation is like the nailing the coffin shut. Yeah, because Tim Burton did something incredible with the character of the Dark Knight. I agree with that last line. Roger Moore was good at the darker stuff when it was called on, and I think For Your Eyes Only is the prime example. I always state that as one of the better Roger Moore films because it does have a bit of a darker side to it. But is he really that good at it? I don't know.
I think there's a reason he wasn't called on to do it that often, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
And is he kind of a clown among Bonds? Yes, but is he Adam West's Batman? Well, yes, literally. Like Adam West's Batman, I think, is a completely different animal. Like that's the 60s Batman TV show was not in any sense like trying to balance whimsy with drama. It was pure whimsy. It was pure Lorenzo Semple, crazy, over the top villains and ridiculous plots and sound effects appearing on the screen every time someone punched someone. That's not what Bond has ever been. So we don't need an Adam West of Bond. And if you were to have an Adam West of Bond, it wouldn't be Roger Moore. Like what he's doing is not equivalent to that at all, I don't think. No. I think actually what Michael Myers does is the Adam West of James Bond.
Good point. Good point. Yeah. Wow. A lot to think about. Thank you. Let's move on. Blue Krogan writes, in the end, Brosnan not being able to do The Living Daylights and having to wait till GoldenEye to finally take over 007 was a blessing in disguise. Interesting. Should I go on? He says, let's be honest. Brosnan looked so much better in 95 than he did in 87. Don't get me wrong. Brosnan was always a handsome, sexy, good-looking guy. Do go on. But all that magnified as he aged. Between 87 and 95. Oh, sorry. All that magnified as he aged between 87 and 95. I definitely buy 95 Brosnan as Bond. Hell, I still believe they could have squeezed one more 007 outing out of him in 2004 before they rebooted it in 2006. I am going to disagree there. I think it ended on the perfect note.
Couldn't have
Yeah,
done
so
better.
yeah. So do you agree that Brosnan is like a fine wine and aged so perfectly that he could only be unbottled in 95?
I think it's a really interesting case, and of course, we can't prove it either way. Like Remington Steele era Brosnan was a very like fine, sexy leading man.
Mm-hmm.
I think the bigger issue actually is how 80s he would have been in the 80s. Like if you had cast Pierce Brosnan in 87 and he had made
He would have had
movies in
that weird
87 and
mullet.
89. Yeah, I think they would have leaned into the Stephanie Beacham of it all. It would have been a bit too dynasty. Like his
Yeah.
looks in an 80s context. I think we actually needed the return of irony before you could get Pierce Brosnan taken seriously as James Bond. So yeah, so I'm sort of buying this take, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it kind of makes me think of seeing Nicolas Cage in the Superman suit with a mullet,
Right.
where it just doesn't quite work. And so we had to shelve Superman until the culture caught up to where it needed to be, right? Like we couldn't have a Superman film until Superman himself had short hair again. And I feel that way with Brosnan. There's something very inherently nice about Pierce Brosnan that wouldn't have fit in the late 80s.
Now, again, I've moved one of the hot takes up here because it feels like it ties in very well. Pirate Beanie wrote, Brosnan is the most handsome Bond. Also has the least emotional range of any of the actors. But
Well,
the hot take we'll go with is Brosnan is the most handsome Bond.
Try to shoehorn a second hot take in here. Is Brosnan the most handsome Bond?
I'm going to say no. Like, I think Dalton's more handsome. I think Connery's more handsome. I think Craig is sexier.
That's actually
different.
where I was stuck. That is different. Yeah, Craig is definitely sexier. I don't know. Part of me agrees, like classically handsome, like could be a model handsome. That might,
Right.
well, I mean, George Lazenby was a model. But,
yes.
But Pierce, I mean, he's got like that beautiful square jaw and those like really, I hate to say it, piercing blue eyes. He could sell an Armani tux, and Armani tux is
but then think about
Brioni,
Timothy Dalton
sorry.
and the cleft chin and the, just the chiseledness of it all. Like Dalton never really got his fair crack at being hot because his Bond was too po-faced and serious. But like Dalton's a gorgeous man.
He is. I would say he's more hot than handsome, honestly. And there is a difference. There is.
There is.
Connery and Brosnan that's where I'm trying to like figure out who is more handsome. And I think
Brosnan is prettier for sure.
And pretty isn't handsome. I mean, now we're just getting into the semantics of
now we need a tier
attractiveness. Okay, put this down as an idea for a future episode.
Great. All right.
Okay, let's move on to the next hot take. Ooh, I love the name. This was just for me. Spockadile writes, the Daniel Craig era has been the worst in the history of the franchise. Oh my God. There was one fantastic movie, one very good movie, one mediocre, and two at the very bottom brackets of my list. The character's never been more dull, in my personal opinion, than during this era. Wow.
Ooh.
What? Ooh, girl.
Barbara Broccoli's taking her earrings out.
That's tough. That's tough because
it's tough. I mean,
there's a lot to be said.
Go ahead.
No, you're right. Like it is about the eras of Bond. And yeah, this 15-year span of the Daniel Craig films is the longest era in the Bond film history, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Like 11 years for Roger Moore. He just squeezed a lot into that 11 years.
He sure did. Like a girdle.
Squeezed out. Yeah. Pushed out. Yeah, this was a long time. And I feel like cinema filmmaking itself went through a ton of upheaval and change in that 15 years. 2006. Now I'm just doing, oh, it really was 15 years. I was just guessing and my math is right. Like, we saw the advent of CGI and AI in that time and how that's taken over movies today. And like, we start in Casino Royale where everything is still really practical, and we end in No Time to Die where everything is touched up, including the actors' faces. So that's hard. Those last two films are a letdown, and Quantum of Solace I like, but only if you view it as a direct, like, not even a sequel, just like the second part of the same movie.
Yeah, I think the lost opportunity, the opportunity cost, I suppose, is the real, like, frustrating part of the Craig era, because we only get those 5 movies. There are a lot of external factors as to why that is, but it felt like they slow rolled it and then didn't deliver the perfect. Like, if you're taking your time, you expect them to be craftspeople about it, and they weren't. They went directly into shock with those last 2 movies in a way that just kind of broke the brains of Bond fans. So yeah, it's frustrating. My bigger question really is, like, what is an era? Like, are we just talking about like an actor's time in the role? Because I would argue that that's not really fair to call that an era. Like, I would say there are 2 eras of Roger Moore, which basically comes down to like the first 3 and the last 4. I would say that the Lazenby movie is in the middle of an era that is the second Connery era. Like, I think there's a different, like, bit of just archaeological digging that we need to do to track out down what actually is an era. And the fact that this is a 15-year block is kind of crazy. But
there's 2 eras there, right? There's like,
that's what I'm
again,
wondering.
There's the first 3. I think Casino to Skyfall is a really well self-contained era, and they all feel cohesive. It's the Judi Dench, Daniel Craig era, and then we get to the Rafe. Maybe it's based on M's. No, that's not right.
The first era is 30 years long. Not literally.
No, but then there's the last 2 films which feel so distinct, and also so similar. And I like, and then Connery definitely has 2 eras. I would say, Dr. No to Thunderball being one, and You Only Live Twice, On Her Majesty's Secret Service, and Diamonds are definitely a distinct campy era for the late 60s, early 70s. And then you move into Roger Moore, which, agreed, like, there are 2 eras there.
70s and 80s Roger Moore, basically.
Yeah. Dalton gets a single block because they occupy such a limited amount of space. And I think Pierce does as well, because all of those films are so hyper 90s.
Yeah.
So
we're going to have to sit down and make it. We're going to have to make another list.
Okay. Second episode to come out of this.
Wow, this is great. This is like a brainstorming session. Okay, the last hot take from this round of hot takes, which is the longest round of hot takes that I've been able to find so far. This one definitely is for you. User deleted says the Craig Bonds are basically the J.J. Abrams Star Treks of the Bond franchise. I'll just step out for 5 minutes.
What is this person trying to say? I feel like it's derogatory.
What does it mean to you?
I am not the most staunch defender of the J.J. Abrams Star Trek films. He said Star Trek and not Star Wars, right?
Yes.
Because there's also the J.J. Abrams Star Wars controversy.
Right.
Star Trek. Okay, great. I think 2009 Star Trek has some good ideas, and I think Star Trek Beyond is actually an incredible Star Trek film, and Star Trek Into Darkness we don't talk about.
So there's a deterioration there.
No, it's a mid, bad, great.
Okay.
It's quite a graph. But then the Daniel Craig films start at great, mid, good, great, and then a plummet. So they're kind of inverse.
Right.
What is this take trying to say? That these films are flashy and have no substance? I think that's the point that they're trying to make. And I disagree. And this goes back to our last hot take, is that these films occupy 2 distinct eras. And you could say that the first block of Daniel Craig films are not just flashy, they're actually substantial. And the last 2 films are more flash, less substance.
Yeah, I would agree.
I my back gets raised a little when people bring my first and greatest love into the mix. It feels personal. It's just it's an attack on me and it's an attack on my family.
All right, let's move on to the second Reddit post. There's only a couple of takes that I've taken from this one, but this was from 3 years ago. Do you want to lead off?
Yeah, sure. User Red Grant 1963, oh, we can tell he's a fan, or they, or she, as the man with the golden gun is a classic, the best villain, Moore being a cold agent. It's nice to see Bond afraid and desperate. Oh, and there's a second take in here. Thunderball.
Also from Red Grant, I think.
Oh, I see. Should we, let's tackle the men with the golden gun first.
Okay, yeah.
Well?
The best villain? No. I mean, what does classic mean?
Yeah, define
is it a classic?
A word. Yeah.
Cinematographically, is it a classic movie? Like, it certainly is, I think, an important movie in the franchise. It has some incredible set pieces, some incredible gadgets. Christopher Lee is awesome, but he's not the Scaramanga of the books. And I actually find the Scaramanga of the books a lot more interesting villain-wise. Maybe that's an unfair comparison because they're just talking about the best movie villains. And also, the movie villains are often the weakest link in a lot of Bond movies. Like, the actual... Like, a lot of Sean Connery's villains were nowhere near the height of the star, the women, or the hench people in terms of their, like, you know, their role was to be threatening. Their role was to be a presence and a thing that gets dealt with at the end of the movie. Like, they're a problem more than they're a person. The exception being Blofeld, really. So, yeah, I think the villains become more interesting after Christopher Lee, perhaps. But I don't think it's a strong enough plot. It's not a strong enough villain scheme to make him the best villain. And I think there's a better version of Christopher Lee being used for this franchise.
I think you just gave your own hot take about villains in the Bond universe that I strongly disagree with. I think the villains in the Connery films are much more villainous and memorable as characters than the villains for like the next 20 years. I feel like Goldfinger, Rosa Klebb, Emilio Largo are all big characters and not just problems, but are like actively megalomaniacs. And Dr. No even. I mean, they're I feel it, but they're all doing a lot and they all aren't just driving the plot forward. They have their own motives. And particularly like Rosa Klebb is like kind of she's a KGB agent who's orchestrating this whole like honeypot plot.
Yeah.
And then has to do the dirty work herself. That's a really interesting villain piece. And then when you move to the 70s, I mean, Hugo Drax. Hugo Drax and Moonraker. We just watched this film and I can't even remember his name. The guy from The Spy Who Loved Me.
That's right. Guy from The Spy Who Loved Me.
Even you can't remember. I think I think Scaramanga stands out in that era.
Yes.
But the rest are kind of forgettable. Would you call Octopussy a villain? No. The villain in that film is fucking...
It's Orlov or it's Kamal Khan.
And the movie doesn't even know which.
Yeah. No, that's fair. I guess I'm screwing with the timeline a bit here. Like, I don't think of Rosa Klebb as the villain in the same way as the other villains. Like, she stands apart. She's just not the same type of villain as the others. Although, in a sense, maybe she's closest to what Scaramanga needed to be. Like, Scaramanga is kind of a henchman elevated to villain status, and Klebb is that too.
Yeah.
And so in that sense, it actually kind of makes me sad for what we lose, because Christopher Lee as a sort of Rosa Klebb type figure is much, much scarier to me than Christopher Lee as an ersatz Drax, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you're right. Goldfinger still stands head and shoulders above the rest. But after that, you know, Blofeld's of varying quality. And then you're right. True. Yes, it's actually when we get into the 80s that things really fall apart. Christopher Lee definitely stands out against that era.
That I will agree with.
But if you're just talking about Roger Moore movies, then you're not talking about Bond movies, you know? So I
Very
retract
true.
my earlier statement.
Thank you. Thank you. And this has been our debate. Thank you for tuning in. Okay. Red Grant's second opinion is that Thunderball is superior to Goldfinger. Ooh, I love that. That's a conversation to be had.
Thunderball, I think, is quite unpopular on the r/James Bond Reddit. It's like the orthodoxy there is that everyone hates Thunderball. The underwater scenes are too long, and I mean, we all know the underwater scenes are too long.
Yeah.
Get over it.
I suggest you watch it at 1.5 times speed. That actually solves a lot of problems in a lot of James Bond films.
So this is kind of a contrapoint to the orthodoxy of this specific Reddit to like big up Thunderball. Thunderball is great, but it's not better than Goldfinger. It just isn't, I don't think.
No, you're right. You're right. Goldfinger is like one of the most perfect Bond films ever. Goldfinger sets up the formula and Thunderball comes in to show that the formula works. There are things I love about Thunderball. I love Domino. I love Largo. I think it's one of the most beautiful Bond films. I think the gadgets are some of the most interesting. Like, there's so many things that I love about that movie. I didn't even mention the henchwoman whose name I can't remember. One of your favorites.
And
Fiona Volpe.
Thunderball? Oh, Fiona Volpe,
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
yeah,
Thunderball's an incredible film. But I guess the question is, what does Goldfinger do better than Thunderball?
I mean, you know, Fiona Volpe is the best, but Pussy Galore is the goddess. So
yeah,
that's part of it. I think you're talking about beautiful. The Goldfinger sets, I think, are more spectacular than the Thunderball sets for the most part.
Okay, yeah, I can see that. I think also the tension in Goldfinger is a bit more like visceral, a bit more realistic.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like the ethereal threat of nuclear war that is kind of in both movies feels a bit more far-fetched in Thunderball, even though it's also somehow a bit more grounded. Like, he steals a nuclear warhead from a fighter jet, as opposed to Goldfinger, who's going to nuke the U.S. supply of gold to raise his own stocks. Don't worry about the plot.
The other thing I think is Sean Connery, I think, is better in Goldfinger. I think he's edging into the pastiche territory when he gets to Thunderball, and that undermines it a little bit. Whereas in Goldfinger, he's just acing it.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. But I don't know. I do find for films that are so similar, I find it hard to compare them. I do love both movies. And I think I've seen Thunderball more, though. So maybe Thunderball is my favorite of the two. And I'm not ashamed of that. I think they're both fantastic.
Years of your life watching those underwater fight scenes, just...
Honestly, yes. And I'm okay with that. I think they're good. They're not.
Hot take. Good. All right. The last one from this batch is from Versimo Allen, who says, Stacey Sutton is a good Bond girl and provides no data to back up this claim.
Where? Show me how, and I will listen. Because I just watched that movie.
Yeah.
She is not.
She is not a good...
I'm honestly trying to think of like how anyone could think that. Like, she's a geologist and she looks pretty standing on a bridge. And then she doesn't even open up an Apple computer. She just hits a button and you get like lines across the screen. She's like, see, that's geological surveying. Is she good at her job? I don't know. She just has a computer that might be good at her job. And then for the rest of the film, it's James!
So Stacey Sutton is not a good Bond girl.
Terrible take. Okay, so now we have another list from 4 years ago. So we're going back in time now.
Again.
Best for Bond writes, The World Is Not Enough is a top 5 Bond film simply because Sophie Marceau is so much fun to watch. Andrew, how can you disagree with that statement? I am the author. I wrote this hot take. No, I'm kidding.
Sophie Marceau is extraordinary. Like, she's so good. Electra King is, I think, a brilliant Bond villain. The betrayal is a big part of that. But Sophie Marceau she's stunning. She's elevated. She's genuinely threatening, I think. She doesn't need Renard, really, I don't think. I think she's so much more interesting than he is.
Yeah.
That doesn't make this a top 5 Bond film. Like, is she even in the top 5 performances? No, she's not. Like, she's high. She definitely deserves the praise that this hot take is giving her. But I don't think she elevates the film to the starry heights. Sorry, but by all means, give her roses.
I love this film. And I've talked about it many times before, but I think Christmas Jones, Denise Richards, is unfairly maligned for this film.
Yes, I agree.
And she's not the best actress we've ever had in a Bond film, but she certainly gets, she deserves more credit than she ruined the franchise.
Yeah.
Halle Berry did far worse in Die Another Day than Denise Richards did in The World Is Not Enough. Honestly, now that's my hot take. One of them is an Oscar-winning actress, and one of them's Denise Richards. I think The World Is Not Enough is like a really interesting film, and you said it. The thing that detracts from it most is the shoehorned Renard storyline.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to be there to make this a powerful film. He kind of dilutes what is good about this film, and I think if he weren't in it, we would all be saying that The World Is Not Enough is one of the best Bond films. But because it gets muddied by having too many villains and not a clear enough plot, like the end with the nuclear sub is a mess. I think if it ended with the Sophie Marceau bit and the rescuing of, then this could be one of the best Bond films of all time.
I think Renard really only exists to maintain the surprise that Sophie Marceau is the villain. Like, we didn't know that going into that movie originally. But then she dies and he keeps going. And so he ultimately is the real final boss of the movie. And that's where I think they misstepped. Like, kill Renard halfway through the movie and everyone's like, ah, you know? But yeah, they did not trust themselves to commit to that.
Love that take, though. That's a good one.
Cultured Goat writes, I enjoy Eric Serra's score for GoldenEye, and I can appreciate what he was trying to do. There's a lot of text here, but I'm going to skip the end. The cold industrial sound and instrumentation does great to augment the tone and aesthetic of the movie. Eric Serra's GoldenEye score.
Finally, someone backing up Eric Serra. This has got like... Someone write down the date and time. This is a monument in history. No, it's terrible. It's hard to listen to. It doesn't even represent the time in which this film came out, because industrial electronica was already a thing, and it was interesting, and it's still considered good. This... I don't know, maybe this person played a little too much GoldenEye and so there's some association there. I find it hard to listen to this soundtrack.
Yeah. It's lovely that someone's defending Eric Serra.
You know what?
It's not a job that
there's
needed
something
to be
for
done,
everyone.
But yeah, let's just say that.
There's room for
from 2 years ago, we have some sort of lukewarm hot takes. So I will have to read this first one because there's no way it's going to come out of your mouth. Vince Stadden says, the Brosnan stuff is unwatchable pastiche. Oof. Pierce is a lovely man and a great actor in other movies, but he's bloody awful as James Bond, a pouty, weedy bore. The women in the Brosnan films, however, are amazing.
Saved yourself with that last comment, my friend. From me finding you, hunting you down. My camera's shaking. I'm so angry. Wow. And you know what, Andrew? I don't want to fucking hear it, because I know what you're thinking. You wrote this, didn't you? You just put this in here to make me angry. And it worked, my friend. Can you see how red I'm getting?
Yeah, I can. You were out in the sun a lot yesterday, though.
It's pretty hot.
We can agree the women are amazing. I mean, Halle Berry aside, as we've said, like some of those women did not get their due. Sophie Marceau, certainly, like, amazing. Rosamund Pike, phenomenal. Michelle Yeoh, definitely like up there as one of the greatest action Bond women. You know, Christmas Jones underrated. Terry Hatcher probably correctly rated Halle Berry a disaster.
Yeah, and Elizabeth Scorpova, I think, underrated, actually.
Yeah, Natalia, underrated. Xenia, just, I mean, one of the best Bond characters.
Yeah, so the women, for the most part, carry these films.
Yeah.
But I just can't see anyone else being Bond in the 90s. And you and I have talked like fan casting for so long, for like nearly 6 years of our fucking lives. We've talked about who could have played Bond, the alternate choices at this time. And I mean, Clive Owen is probably the only one who came close and could come close to being Bond in this era. I feel like the movies got who they deserve.
That's your defense? That's what you're saying about the movies you love? To be loved by you is a hard road, my God.
I'm single. I think what Brosnan does best is he sells sexy action star of the 90s. I think, yeah, we spent so much time this episode talking about this. He's handsome and he's pretty and he wears things well and he sells you on the idea of luxury. And sure, his pain acting is terrible. He makes the vinegar eye face too often. But I think other than that, like, he defined Bond for me, right? He's the one I grew up with. When I think of Bond, my immediate thought is Pierce Brosnan, and then I have to remind myself that Sean Connery and Daniel Craig exist.
He's the Bond that tucked you into your Laura Ashley sheets in your birthday cake bedroom,
holding a shotgun over me.
Go back and watch our A View to a Kill episode to understand those references.
Mm-hmm.
I will say, like, the script is pastiche, especially like when you get to Die Another Day. I've said before, some of that script is unwatchable, is hard to get through because it's all leaden puns and innuendos, and it's completely missing the point that those things should be light, they should be throwaway, and instead the movie just becomes like an arduous trek through every single bad joke. Yeah, so I understand, Vince Stadden. I understand where you're coming from, and if you see Shane, run. We have another Vince Stadden take here, so let's see if he redeems himself.
All right, no. The answer is no. Roger is adorable and utterly charming. But Moonraker is the last time Moore looked remotely credible as James Bond. All of his 80s films are dreadful. Well, yes.
This is, I mean, we talked about this, I think, in our View to a Kill episode as well. When should Roger Moore have stepped away? He was 52 when he made Moonraker. You said he had a 3-movie contract, so that takes him up to. So Moonraker becomes the first time he renews.
Yes.
And that's when he should have quit. Like, he should have quit before Moonraker or after Moonraker. Either of those would have been great. Like, the best time for Roger Moore to quit is right now.
Yesterday.
In 1980. 1979.
Yeah, I if we're talking about looking credible as James Bond, yeah, The Spy Who Loved Me, he still has a bit of like vitality in him. He's what, 49 when he's making that movie, maybe 48, probably 49, and I mean he's still twice the age of Barbara Bach in that film.
Yeah.
And it's still a little unbelievable that he can pull the women that he's getting. But he still delivers a very Bond-like performance. The cracks appear in Moonraker, and the cracks turn to fissures by the time we get to For Your Eyes Only next.
Yeah, if Roger Moore's canon had been Live and Let Die, Man with the Golden Gun, and The Spy Who Loved Me, that would be like considered a great era. Like, we would be looking back and saying, oh, that's, yeah, the Roger Moore stuff. He was a bit of a weird old man, but he made some really interesting movies. Like, they have problems, but at least those 3 movies are all like very rewatchable and very interesting and have some great supporting characters. If he'd also made Moonraker, if it had been those 4 movie set, then we'd be saying,
like, well,
good thing he quit after Moonraker. But instead we get Moonraker, For Your Eyes Only, Octopussy, A View to a Kill, of which For Your Eyes Only is the only one that still like holds up, I think.
Yeah.
and the rest are, it's just imagine another world in which someone else, I mean, it'd be terrible to cast someone else in Moonraker as it exists now. Like, what a burden for that to be your first Bond movie. But I don't know that they would have made the same Moonraker if they had recast Bond at that stage. Like, they would have taken a little bit more of a lead in time, I think. We might have got the first new Bond movie in 1980 instead of 79. So yeah, I'd love to imagine who could have been cast as Bond for 1979, 1980 in Roger Moore's place. Sam
I
Neill,
wonder who the contenders would have been. Oh, Sam Neill, of course. Wow.
maybe.
Imagine that Black Mirror episode. Should we talk about some more recent hot takes?
Let's.
All right, this is from this year, 2025, if you're watching in the future. Necessary Hippo 1357, because
Thank you.
the other 1,356 necessary hippos were already taken. They write, I have no problem with the slide whistle in The Man with the Golden Gun.
And you should add the next hot take as well from Fit2.
J.W. Pepper in The Man with the Golden Gun is one of my favorite things in the whole series. The fact that it's ridiculous just makes me love it more. You go to hell.
No, J.W. Pepper is an abomination before God. I will not hear him defended. I will not hear the slide whistle defended. If you love those things,
you grew up watching Roger Moore and said,
yeah,
that's it. That's all I need.
That's what I want.
This is the height of Bond for me.
I would say love yourself. Love yourself.
Yeah. Touch grass. Go
Get
touch some fucking grass. Yeah.
Imagine The Man with the Golden Gun without all of that crappy comedy, like anything slide whistle adjacent, anything J.W. Pepper-esque. There could have been a much better movie. Like, lean into the menace of Christopher Lee as your villain instead of making it this clown car. Yeah. Honestly, but there's no justifying. They were terrible choices.
Yeah, they truly were. Like, it's just hard. It's hard to imagine the creative process where someone stepped in and said, you know what would really work in this action film right here, right now?
I'm not sure the microphone picked up your Swanee whistle there, by the way.
Probably not. Can we insert one in post?
Yeah, I'll do that. What a joy. Okay, the next hot take from Vector for Life 54. Dario is a top 5 henchman.
Oh. Okay. I know we have one Dario defender in the room.
Dario from License to Kill, as played by Benicio del Toro, whose most famous line is, honeymoon.
Honeymoon.
Is he a top 5 henchman? I would say the henchman category in Bond is a crowded one. You know, if you're talking like Mayday, Odd Job, Jaws, Pussy Galore, Xenia Honor Top, like I've just named 5. Red Grant, Knick-Knack. Like, I don't think Dario's getting a sniff in. In fact, I would even say Necros to me is a better Bond hench person. And that's from the same Bond. Different film, but the same Bond. Yeah. So I think Benicio del Toro stands out. Like, his charisma is evident in this role. And he is threatening, and he does get a really good death. But no, I don't know that he cracks the top 10 henchmen, to be honest.
This feels crazy to say, but he's a little too grounded to be a henchman. Like, he's just too real. There's nothing.
What's his USP? Like, does he have diamonds studding his face? No, he does not.
No. Enough said. Okay. Next take, Jenny Sparking, thinking about that as a Bond name. Oh man, this might get me in trouble because I have no idea how unpopular this take actually is. I think the scene in Skyfall where Silva was creepily coming on to Bond in a gay way, and Bond was like, bet, is spot on. Okay. How old is this person? Even if Bond is 100% straight, I think any kind of 00 spy worth their salt would have to be flexible enough to seduce anyone, whether the 00 in question is a guy or a girl. Or at the very least, roll with anything enough so a gay mark could be fooled, charmed by flirting, or if a bad guy did come at them like Silva did, they aren't going to be bothered. Yeah, girl.
You see why?
Come on, Jenny Sparking.
I included this one.
Yeah.
I mean, James Bond is a honey trap assassin. Like, that is part of what he does. So, yeah, of course he should be flirting with men, and of course he should be prepared to put out. Like, it's if you're willing to kill people, you should be willing to suck a dick or two, you know?
Am
Stands
I
to
right,
reason.
ladies?
And yeah, I think there's no reason why Bond shouldn't be a little more enlightened about sexuality. I mean, he did go to public school, and he is surrounded by rich toffs. So, you know, you, if you want to get ahead, give some head.
Put that on a t-shirt. Introducing our new
Consensually.
merch. Yeah. That's what it says on the back. I feel like it's is it even really a hot take, because Bond like fagged it up for lack of a better word. Bond gayed it up for lack of keeping us platformed. In On Her Majesty's Secret Service, he's already gone undercover as a gay man. This is just the second time that it's ever been talked about, and that was 40 years later.
Great. Jonathan Bailey for Bond.
Jonathan Bailey for Bond.
Okay. The last hot take, and then we're going to do a couple of cold takes. This is from Rochelle. I sometimes seriously think they should not make any more movies. Rochelle says, social mores have correctly changed enough that most of what made James Bond for the first 50 years of its existence cannot and should not be recreated. Yet I feel second half of the Craig era really showed the limits of the series trying to go in other directions. It started to feel self-serving, self-referential, and frankly ponderous. It wasn't very much fun. Why not appreciate the old movies and books for what they are and acknowledge that maybe this concept has run its course? Death to Bond.
Death to Bond. I mean, we killed him. Do we need to go back? I get it. And I feel like this is not the first time that has ever been said.
Yeah.
And yeah, like there is a part of Bond that is inherently colonialist, misogynist, like racist, the big three, you might say. I think it's a fun challenge presenting the character of James Bond to a modern audience.
Yeah.
And that's always been the challenge. And when it works, we get like some touchstones in cinema, like Goldfinger, like On Her Majesty's Secret Service, like GoldenEye, and like Casino Royale.
Royale.
Those films show that the things that kind of inspired the character originally aren't actually the most important thing to the character of James Bond. The character of James Bond is about fighting for what is right and what is right in the world at the time. But essentially, it's like what is right for the world. Stopping nuclear war, stopping fascist dictators, stopping, I don't know, newspaper tycoons from owning the media, even just interfering in the arms trade. I think those are things that we can all still get behind. And I think, yeah, when it is, each new take on it is an opportunity to reflect back to us what our morals are today. That's my hot
Very
take.
well said. Very well said. Yeah. I mean, the truth of the matter is they're not going to stop making them because it's a hugely successful franchise. So we kind of have to just, wish for the best version of what they will make rather than saying it's time to draw a line under it. But obviously, I think, this user understands that. They're just saying, hey, in a perfect world, maybe we'd stop. But I would also say, like, Bond is just the latest version of sort of the errant knight romance figure. Like, he's loyal to his king or queen in this case till now, and he goes off and slays dragons. That's, that idea hasn't got old yet. It just changes its style every once in a while. So I think there is a lot of scope to reinvent Bond, and we've already seen it done like 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
Not just on the flip of the actors, but on like other ways across decades, So yeah, I'm always excited for more. I'm the problem.
I'm the problem, and I'm okay with that.
there was a thread where people suggested cold takes, opinions on 007 that everyone seems to agree with. So I picked out a couple of those for us to end on to see what we think.
Love that. All right. Mash Go Boom writes, Aston Martins are awesome, and I hope they don't go with other cars ever again.
Honestly, yeah. Like you're gonna make your brand deals with BMW or whoever, and we're all gonna know it's a brand deal. It's not about the car that you want. It's about the company that signed up.
Mm-hmm.
Just stick to Aston Martins. They're always gonna look cool.
Yeah, they look cool, they look luxury, and they look practical. Like they're fast juggernauts that you can fit a machine gun into the headlights, you know?
And there's room for other cars. Other characters drive other cars, you know?
Yeah, all the time.
Was it the Nissan Sunbeam in You Only Live Twice? One of my favorite cars in the history of
the Jaguar X8 in Die Another Day, another beautiful car.
A Lotus Esprit for when you need to go underwater. But Bond should have an Aston Martin.
Yeah. Okay, I guess the real question is, the Rolls-Royce Phantom is the car from the novels, and we just saw that in A View to a Kill. I just watched that film. I can't believe I couldn't remember it. Is like, would that be acceptable? Personally, I don't think so. I still want to see an Aston Martin. I feel like the Aston Martin serves the character better than the Rolls-Royce ever did.
Yeah, I think the Rolls-Royce would have to be M's car.
Yeah, it's of a time.
And our last take of the episode, Elrod the Albino says, Ken Adam sets are amazing. The fact that I can even name the set designer says a lot. And Adopt a Mew adds, he would be on my Bond Mount Rushmore. Ooh. So here's the question. Who goes on the Bond Mount Rushmore? 4 faces. Does Ken Adam make the cut? And who else goes up there?
Well, that's so difficult, but so good.
I know. I've flung this at you at the end of the episode.
How dare you? Okay. I think Sean Connery has to be there as the face of Bond. It doesn't matter how you feel about your rankings of other Bonds, who did it best. Right. I think everyone will always associate Sean Connery as James Bond. So he has to be up there. Do you put Ian Fleming up there? But then we have to kind of honor Ian Fleming.
I mean, this is the movie Mount Rushmore, not the book. Right. I'd say
better. So,
can I suggest Shirley Bassey?
Yes, absolutely. That is a yes.
She speaks to the style, the music, the bombast of Bond. And so for me, she's on my Mount Rushmore.
Oh, she's right up there for me too.
Does Ken Adam get a slot? Because I think maybe Ken Adam is a good choice.
Yeah, honestly. I don't think the Bond films would have left the lasting mark that they have without the villain lair, the styling of every scene in the 60s and 70s. So, yeah, I mean...
The asterisk I would place here is, like, should Maurice Binder get a spot? He's kind of half Shirley Bassey, half Ken Adam. Like, he's the aesthetic and he's the themes. I would choose Ken Adam over Maurice, I think, unless he was getting that 4th slot.
I feel like that 4th slot has to represent something else, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we've got the Sean Connery as the star, the icon.
Yeah.
We've got Shirley as the sound. We have Ken Adams as the visuals. What's number 4?
Like my camp choice out there is Nikki van der Zyl, the voice of every Bond woman for the first 20, 30 years. Like, she dubbed everyone.
Give this woman her due.
Yeah. Finally elevate her up.
That's pretty incredible. Honestly, I think it has to be Barbara Broccoli.
Yeah. I was going to say Lois Maxwell, but Barbara Broccoli also makes a lot of sense.
I think Barbara Broccoli represents the vision, right? It represents the legacy of Cubby, but also how she managed to bring Bond into, carry him through another 3 decades. Yeah, that looks like a pretty good Mount Bondmore to me. Connery, Bassey, Adams, Broccoli.
Yeah, we've fixed it. We've solved it. Look at us go.
All right.
Now we just need to
find a significant monument that means something to an indigenous peoples.
Right.
Completely destroy it. Now that nothing could be more Bond than that.
Let's get the Rock of Gibraltar. move it to somewhere else.
Pinewood Studios.
Pinewood Studios. Yeah. Kids, friends don't let friends build Mount Rushmores. I think that's the final takeaway here.
Yeah, that's a hot take. No, that's a good take to have.
That's a good take. All right.
Andrew,
so those are
this has been
our
so
hot
fun.
takes. It has been a lot of fun. I think we will probably do this again. So
I
if
can't wait.
you have a hot take, leave it in the comments below. We would love to rip you apart or agree with you.
Sometimes.
Or both. Yeah, I think we'll be revisiting this theme because it's I mean, we get to really nerd out on this stuff.
Yeah.
And what do we love more than that? Nothing.
Honestly, nothing.
So thank you for sharing these hot takes with me, Shane.
Thank you for sharing them with me, Andrew.
Kiss, kiss.
Bang, bang. If you enjoyed this video, please click the like button and subscribe to this channel. You can follow Kiss Kiss Bang Bang on Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, and Letterboxd at KKBBpod, or email us at kisskissbangbangpod@gmail.com.
Kiss Kiss Bang Bang is recorded in Toronto on the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabeg, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples.